All right, so should we get into the new OpenAI demo?
Yeah, tell us what we're looking at, Joe.
Yeah, so basically, just a couple days ago, OpenAI dropped their new demo of GPT-4o. And I think the biggest thing, the biggest improvement is their voice feature. So like you can talk to GPT now with your voice and it will respond in like a pretty realistic human sounding voice. And then they've also got like where you can show it like live video and it can kind of walk you through what it's seeing, or like if you could show it a math problem, how to solve a math problem. So it's pretty big. And I was honestly, the biggest thing that surprised me was how human-like it sounded. Because honestly, like you think of like Siri that we've had on our iPhones for maybe 10 years or 15 years or however long. And like this is like pretty much the same concept, but it's clearly like something different because it's just so much better.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the biggest thing I noticed was the time delay between like Siri, you say, "Hey Siri, what's the weather?" and then it loads for a couple seconds.
Dude, but if you play the video, you can tell they're splicing it. Have you seen that?
Really?
So
Wait,
I thought that, and then I watched the video, and you can tell that when they ask the question and when it responds, it's spliced.
Wait,
So,
really?
Yeah.
I actually did not notice that from the video.
They don't even talk about it.
I mean,
But
we'll
then
see
was
when
like,
it actually comes out, because what they claim is that it's like live conversation. That's what it seemed like in the video.
Yeah.
Do you know when
But
it's available?
The other thing too is like, do you know how? I think how they're doing it is like, if you notice when GPT-4o responds, it does stuff with like it says like, and then it responds.
Yeah.
So I think like it might just be like similar processing speed to like GPT right now, but they just put like filler words in while it's like processing, so it makes it seem that it's like instantaneous.
But don't humans
But
do
yeah,
that
I feel
too?
like that's not even a bad thing
It's
though
not bad,
necessarily,
but it's
because
just
like if
kinda
we're having a
interesting, like,
conversation, like we're gonna have filler words in there.
Yeah.
I don't think that necessarily like is inherently a bad thing.
It's
like,
not a bad thing. I just think it's like kind of interesting how they like they kind of mask like the processing time.
Yeah. 100%.
I mean, I also think though that's part of making it more human, because if it was just like instant response every time, like I mean, I don't even think they'd be capable of making that. But if they did, like, would that even feel natural?
Yeah.
Okay, but let's talk about what they were actually doing in these videos. So they just have a conversation, and they say, AI, like, tell me about this cool thing. And then it'll, instead of taking a couple of seconds to respond, it'll just go, yeah, that's a really great question. And those are the couple of seconds that it takes to process. And then it'll just start talking. Yeah, the Himalayan mountains are one of the most beautiful places. You can go hike there and blah, 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 blah. And so those types of things, in Siri, you ask like, hey, tell me about the Himalayan mountains. And it comes up with, here's what I found on Google for Himalayan mountains.
Yeah, it's not anything new. Like,
Yeah.
It's just so different. And it truly sounded like a conversation. So, Joe, do you know when it actually rolls out for people to use?
no, so I was like looking into it because I know they mentioned they were like wanting it to be like, or like trying to introduce more like free features, because like obviously right now you're paying for GPT-4, but I don't actually know when this comes out, or even if it's necessarily part of the free or the paid version, because like in the like obviously right now it's like GPT-4 you need to pay for to get the like where you paste the image in. Like, have you guys used that before?
Yeah.
And even that's like, I mean, that's still pretty impressive, but this is definitely like a different level.
Yeah.
I also thought the, like, did you guys see the language translation part?
Yeah, that was pretty sweet.
So I saw a lot of like comments or just like people posting things like, what's the point of like learning a foreign language now? Do you guys agree with that, disagree with that?
I've thought that for a while.
Really?
Because they already had kind of some tools that could do it. Like, it wasn't like as good as this. But I just thought like with the rate of like acceleration of like technological capability, it's like you spend all this time learning a language, and then if like a AI could just do it for you, then it's like, I don't know.
I think there's a very big difference between being able to speak a language and having an interpreter speak the language for you.
There is for sure, but is it worth like the years of taking the time to do it? I guess you could argue that they have shown that it's like good for the brain to like learn a language.
Well, I also feel like you just cannot like, I mean, this is kind of what you were saying, but you cannot just like establish the same level of like human connection if there's like a phone intermediary when you're trying to, every time you want to talk to somebody. Like, I feel like that's something that can't necessarily be replaced no matter how good the technology is.
Yeah, you ever heard the quote, you speak to a man in a language he knows, you speak to his head, you speak to a man in a language, and to his native language, you speak to his heart. Like, there's something so connecting to people about speaking the same language that they've grown up speaking.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I feel like there's so much advantage to learning another language because like you experience that connection. You learn so much more about the world from that. Like, I love learning languages, and I think there's a lot of reasons for it. Like, one, it just expands your brain capacity so much. Like, when you're learning Spanish, you actually learn so much about English as well.
Yeah.
But you're also able to connect with the Hispanic culture in a way that you could not do just knowing English.
Yeah, it's definitely
I just think that I would agree with that, but I would say that there's like a lot of, you gotta look at the opportunity cost of like choosing to learn a language when you could be learning like other skills.
But what other skills could you learn that the AI also isn't going to know in the future?
Python.
No, that's so crap.
Okay.
Python is so, like, it already is way better than you at Python, I promise.
No, but I know, but you see what he's saying though. Like, there's other stuff that like you can learn.
Okay,
I feel
like choose your skill. Like maybe painting. I don't know. Poetry.
Yeah.
Like something that gives.
like, yeah, you can still like make. I see what you're saying. Like, you'd still make like connections through other ways, and like there's like definitely skills that like.
Also, it's kind of like you get this skill narrowly in like Spanish, but what about like French, German? Like, there's so much like. I guess you could go take the time to learn all those other languages, but it's just like a lot of time, you know?
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like it's honestly like you're arguing honestly two of the same points, because you're saying like, oh, learn another language because you can make like genuine connection through it, right? But you could like make the exact same argument for like another like skill that's like replaced. So like you'd be like, oh, you can go learn to paint. Well, there's already like bots that can like make a picture for you, but that's like obviously not the same thing. Like there's like a fundamental difference.
That's true. That's a very good point, actually.
Yeah, I mean, the bots that make images are like also incredible.
Yeah, like they're way better than you'll ever be at like painting, but that doesn't mean there's not value behind learning that skill.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, that's really true.
Yeah.
And speaking of Python, I'm sure you've used ChatGPT for like some of your homework or like sorry, not for your homework, just like personal coding projects. yeah. Anyway, but like you paste a chunk of Python code in ChatGPT and it's like, dude, help me out, I can't figure out why this isn't working. And then it goes through it takes 3 seconds, and then it goes, okay, here's what I think you're trying to do, and it's always right. And it's like, here's exactly how to fix it, and that's almost always correct as well.
Nah, it is not almost always correct in my experience, I would say.
I will say that there are other tools that one could use that are probably better than GPT.
Like what, for example?
The best one on the market is GitHub Copilot.
Yeah.
So it's in your IDE, so like the place that you're actually coding. So it has the context of your entire program, and it can reference all your different classes in your program.
Yeah.
And synthesize all that. And I was actually just watching a clip on Lex where the guy who created Python is like, Lex is like, where do you see AI in like the world of programming? Python guy is like, oh yeah, I use Copilot every day for like hours.
Yeah.
Like his strategy, the guy who created Python is like, I have Copilot generate code for me, and then I go in with my knowledge of how programs work, and I basically just debug the stuff that Python already generated. Like that's the I think for a lot of like software developers, like that's becoming more of the strategy now.
Dude, I feel like that's honestly where a lot of jobs are headed with like AI. Is like it's not necessarily going to replace like a human, but it's more just going to like serve as an assistant to like improve their productivity. Because at a certain point, there's just like too much nuance in like all these jobs for like a universally trained AI to just replace a human, but it can definitely be like do like 80% of the work, and then the human just does anything that like requires that nuance.
Yeah. So if you actually look at like what machine learning is, it's something that's like very good at like one task. Like that's what it's good at. It's just like completing a task. So if you have jobs where it's like, it's not just one task, it's like a series of tasks, and then they all combine, and you gotta like make decisions over those tasks, then basically what you're gonna have to do is just like have machine learning like assist in those tasks, and then just there's gonna be like a lot of supervision jobs. I feel like.
I like what you said there, where it's like it's really good at completing tasks. Like, have you looked into like how like GPT like the idea behind that like actually works with like
Prediction.
Yeah, with like it's like predicting the next word basically. So like, have you seen that at all? I don't want to like repeat it if you already understand how it works.
Just go ahead and explain.
Yeah, so basically like the way ChatGPT and like other LLMs are basically designed is like they're not like generating a whole paragraph at once. They're starting with like you give it a prompt, right? And it's going to just continue writing basically the next most likely word based on after each previous word. So it's not like if you give it nothing, it can't really make anything. It needs something to start with, and then it kind of completes that for you. So I think that's another thing where we're kind of talking about like the debugging, where like you kind of give it like a lot, you give it maybe 50, 60%, and then it's completing that for you. And I think it's pretty tough to like actually make something where it's like completely generating entire projects by itself.
Don't you think it's kind of unbelievable that that's how it all works?
Yeah, it's honestly...
It just doesn't seem possible that you're able to generate that much so much text, and it feels like it's creating knowledge, but it's actually just like generating the next most likely word.
That's what's interesting about a lot of AI right now is you got to be careful, because when you see like the female voice who just kind of like answers your questions seamlessly, or like you look at like LLMs where it's like certainly I can answer that prompt.
And it just feeds you
like,
complete
like
crap.
Conscious, but then you actually look in to like what's actually going on. It's a lot less sexy when you actually get into like the details of what's going on. So I think you have to be careful about like, because there's so much hype around AI right now, and if you look at you guys have probably seen like ads on YouTube about like a software service, or it's always like AI powered. Powered by
it's just
AI.
like a buzzword at this point.
Buzzword. Absolutely.
And then you have all this like Hollywood doesn't do a service either, when you have movies like Her with Joaquin Phoenix, or Ex Machina. And it's like there's so much like doom and gloom around it too. But then other people are like, AI is gonna be the thing that like helps us out of climate change, or helps us solve like all like world problems. And it's like, I feel like the more you learn about it, the more you're like it's not as crazy as you think from the outside.
Well, I think if you just take like an objective look at what it's actually doing, like it's not like some like elegant solution where it like takes in all this information super efficiently. It's literally just like pretty much the way it's made is literally just like brute force through like an insane amount of data. That's why it's like it takes all this time and like resources to like actually train a model, where it's like you're just throwing all this old data in, and it's basically just spitting it out back to you. So it's not like it's necessarily even coming up with new ideas. It just has so much information to draw from that you would never be able to access like without it.
Well, so do you remember in 2016 where it was like the Cambridge Analytics scandal?
I don't remember.
I only know of that because of the We Didn't Start the Fire song. So what was the Cambridge Analytica scandal?
I think it's like, it was basically like during the election, Trump was working with like firms that were basically, they were scraping data from like Facebook and all these like social media platforms, and they had so much data that they were able to have, like at one point they claimed that they had like hundreds of data points on every single like citizen in the US, and it was helping them organize their political campaigns. So I don't remember all the details about it, but the key like controversy was like who told Facebook that they could just give all this data to this like private firm, and B, what does this mean about elections now? Because these, like, all this data is being used to manipulate U.S. citizens to vote one way. And then, like, the takeaway from that, there was, like, a documentary on Netflix that I watched. It was, like, data now, in 2016, so this was, like, almost, like, a decade ago, is, like, it's, like, more important than, like, oil. Or, like, it's, like, the most important resource in the world because of the things that you can do with it. Now, with LLMs and all these, like, AI tools that are literally trained on, like, if you give AI good data, like, that's the key for making, like, a powerful AI tool. I feel like AI, like, we thought data was important before.
And now it's even more.
It's even more important. So now you see, like, I don't know if you guys, like, do you guys have, like, the data science major at your college? Dude, that thing was just, like, that major was just created, like, a couple of years ago.
Oh,
like,
was it really?
At least for Madison, I looked at it, was, like, it was created in 2019 at Madison.
Wow.
So maybe it was, like, a couple of years before, but it's a relatively new major. Well, and it's just, like, I think in the next couple of years, we're just going to see the value of, like, being able to come up with data, like, manipulate data, use data to, I don't know, analyze stuff. It's going to be way more important than
Well, yeah, I think it's even less so, though, about, like, how you analyze. Like, that's obviously very valuable, too, but, like, the biggest thing is just, like, collecting data. And that's why, like social media and, like, search engines and, like, that sort of thing is, like, going to continue to just become even more valuable.
And that's why it's all free.
Oh, yeah.
Like, the reason you're able to access the
You're paying with your data.
knowledge of the world with, like, a single Google search is because, you're just paying with your data.
And what's scary is, like, the average U.S. citizen is like, what do I care? Like, well, I don't care about privacy. Like, it doesn't affect my daily life to give data. But then it's like, they don't understand the power that gives, like, mega corporations to do stuff, you know?
Well, and I feel like even if you're conscious of it, like, you can't control it because so much of it is, like, subliminal or, like, it's like not as direct, so you just don't even notice it. Like, we're cognizant that we're, like, being targeted with this sort of stuff. Like, you see a targeted ad or whatever, but you're not, like, most of the time you're not just, like, thinking about, like, oh, they're trying to manipulate me.
Well, also, what choice do you have?
Yeah, exactly.
It's like, I'm not going to use the internet anymore. Like,
Yeah.
No, I can't not do that.
We all watch The Social Dilemma. We all still use our phones.
Yeah,
exactly
yeah.
the same.
No, I think that's one of the scarier parts, though, is that you can just know about it and you just, like, it's not even that you don't care, but it just feels as though you almost don't have another option.
I mean, you could get DuckDuckGo, but, like...
That's true. But even DuckDuckGo, like, how much is that going to help you? Like, I actually don't really know that much about DuckDuckGo. I had it for a
Could you
while.
explain that to me? Like, I don't know what that is.
I don't really know either. I just know that it's, like, they don't collect... I think there's, like, no cookies or something. Or it's, like, they don't collect as much...
Like, personalized.
But, like, if you go to Facebook.com through DuckDuckGo,
right?
like, then what?
Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know how that would work, because if you're signed into your account, like, it's good. It's as good as over at that
They're gonna
point.
suck it all out.
Yeah. Dude, when was that, like, first, like, data collection? Like, did that start with Facebook? Or, like, cookies with Google? Or, like, do any of you know when that started? Because I feel like that's only been around for, like, 20 years, probably
when
less.
did those companies start figuring out that they could make a lot of money off of data?
Like, I'm trying to think when was the first time that was, like, super prevalent.
It was probably, like, the first couple, like, social media networks, so it's probably Facebook.
Yeah, I would have to guess Facebook.
Facebook,
Because when did that start? Like 2004 or something?
Yeah, or maybe, like, even, like, in Web 2.0 with, like, blogs and stuff, websites. Do you think they could collect data that way?
I bet they could have, but I don't know if they were doing that at that point.
Yeah, I don't know. And it's like, this goes back to, like everything's just, like, battling for your attention. Like, you're literally the thing that's being sold to you is your attention. Or being sold around. It's, like, your attention.
You're the product.
Yeah, you are the product.
Yeah,
It's kind of crazy to think about. Like, all these companies are just battling over, like, a couple minutes that you spend on this app or that app or whatever.
Well, I think that's just because they've been so successful. Like the return on investment with, like, targeted advertising and that sort of thing is just, like, so much more valuable than just, like, random, like, and I feel like that idea has been around forever. Like, if you think about, like, TV advertising, like,
Yeah.
you, like, personalize, like, you're not going to be showing, like, kids ads on, like, an adult show or vice versa.
I'm gonna make a prediction.
All right, let's hear it.
Have you guys heard of Perplexity AI?
No.
So Perplexity.ai was released, I think, probably a little less than a year ago. And basically what it is it's like a search engine that basically it like synthesizes all these like sources on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of like, so like traditional search engines like Google or Bing, or actually I don't know why I even mentioned Bing. But like they give you like a bunch of links, right? Like the first couple are ads and then it's like links.
Yeah.
It doesn't actually answer your question, and it's like basically Google's like, you go find it. Like go like surf on these links and try and find it. And a lot of times you click on a couple of links and you're like, it's just like some random dude's blog.
Yeah.
So Perplexity comes in and it's like, we're gonna solve that problem. We're gonna do all the searching for you. We're gonna search all the links with our AI. And we're gonna give you like a comprehensive answer to your problem. And if you don't believe us, like literally we're gonna provide the references every time we make a statement, so you can click on the link and see where we got this answer. And dude, it is so much better than Google. Like I use it for literally everything. I use it for like fishing spots, like fishing spots in Maple Plain. I use it for like, should I like do a certificate in data science at UW-Madison? It's like, it'll like literally any answer, any question that you have. And you can also say like, I want you to focus on Reddit. I only want you to source from Reddit. Or I only want you to source from the UW-Madison websites. And my prediction is that I don't think this is gonna like be the thing that like topples Google, because like Google is like a mega company. Like I think they're already experimenting with, they already have like an AI feature that you can turn on in your
Google
settings.
does?
Yeah. I don't think it's like as good as Perplexity. Perplexity is like, it's pretty big in Silicon Valley right now. It's like, I think they're like raising funds, and I think Perplexity is gonna be a pretty big company in the next couple of years. But I think they're gonna have a head start, and then people are gonna see, like big companies like Google are gonna see that this is what people want, because it's such a better experience.
How many days until Google buys Perplexity AI?
Yeah, that's honestly like very likely that would happen is the thing.
Have you ever, speaking of Bing, even though you said it wasn't even worth mentioning, have you gone on Bing in the last like, I don't know, 3 months?
No.
Okay, because they released a somewhat similar feature called Microsoft Edge, which I don't know why they decided to name it that. Bing Copilot or something they call it. Anyway, it's ChatGPT-4 in Bing. And it's the same type of thing. You look up, you just type something into the search engine. It gives you all the links on the left side, and then on the right side, it's like the Google cards where it shows you like the Wikipedia answer. But it generates a response to your question based on however many sources, and it does link the source as well. I don't know, like it's decently good. I've never tried Perplexity, so I wonder if it's better, but it is pretty incredible. And also, using that Bing Web Copilot, you can use all the features of ChatGPT-4, like with the image pasting. Like you paste an image, like what does this mean? What's the answer to this question?
So would you, like, I haven't used either of those resources, so would you say, like, the primary difference there between, like, that and just, like, standard GPT is, like, the fact that it's linking the sources? Because I feel like when I'm, like, if I'm just not necessarily Googling, but just, like, asking, like, a basic question or a question about, like, some topic, and I ask GPT, like, I feel like me personally, I'm not, like, questioning, like, where did this come from? And I guess, like, it's definitely different if you're looking up like more specific stuff, like non-general knowledge stuff, but is that like the main difference you're looking at?
I would say there have been times when I've like asked GPT a question and it hasn't been accurate.
Yeah.
And also if you are making a big decision, it's like really helpful, or you want to do more research, it's helpful to kind of like go on your own and research it and verify it by yourself. You gotta understand that a lot of times, like what they give you is just wrong. Like they're just giving you like a generated
like response. The most likely response.
Yeah, that's fair. And I think especially with like I mean, like you mentioned earlier, like UW-Madison, like if you're doing something more tailored to like either a specific area or like a specific school, like something that's not as like, not as like widely known, where it's just like something as widespread, it definitely is beneficial to like actually look at the direct source, especially when they're like you said, sourcing a lot of stuff from Reddit or whatever.
Right. I'm guessing if you ask ChatGPT, just the regular one, should I do a data science certificate at UW-Madison? It'd be like, yeah, that's a great idea. There are these professors in these classes
And
that
it's
you should
these
take.
benefits.
And it's these benefits, and it just made up all those. Like you look up the class on your path class search, and they just don't exist.
That's happened a couple times. Yeah, I found Perplexity is a lot more accurate because I think it factors in those like sources more in their algorithms probably. But I think it's like it's representative of a bigger trend in AI where it's like AI is gonna do like there's really like 2 or 3 main things that like a lot of AI applications are focused on right now. It's like automation. It's like automating like things that like are repetitive or so you don't have to spend time doing it. But like another one is like customizability, where it's like I think that's a word.
Yeah.
Customizability, where it's like we're not just gonna like people aren't gonna settle for like the standard user experience anymore. Everything is gonna be tailored to what you. So like we saw it in Spotify. Xavier, dude. Have you guys tried that?
Wait,
out?
what, is that the AI? Like,
Personal DJ?
yeah.
So like people eat that stuff up, dude. You remember when that came out? It was like, what? Like my personal DJ? Like,
I haven't used it a ton, but I've dabbled with it a little.
so there's stuff like that, and then there's stuff like Perplexity, where it's like I'm gonna give you a tailored solution for you. Then there's also like there's this app called Therapist AI, where it's like, which is kind of scary. But
Just a little.
it's like, yeah, we're gonna have an AI therapist for you that's gonna know you. That's gonna be able to sort out all of your problems instead of just doing a Google search about like
These symptoms or
how
whatever.
what do I do about my avoidant attachment style? That's gonna be an AI that like caters to you. So I think we're gonna see that a lot in a lot of different forms.
I feel like one way that will end up trending is like just in AI in general is just aiming like the best AI. Like we're kind of at a point now where like I feel like like with GPT-4o, like you have the speaking, you have like the live video, like that's kind of most of the features I feel like you could ask for, and I feel like now it's kind of gonna come down to like who can make the most like accurate, like consistently like is not wrong model, and like I feel like that's gonna be like the dominant one, because if you know that like you're using the most accurate information, like obviously everyone's going to use that, right? And if I feel like it's kind of a point now where like everything has like very similar features. Like there's so many, like Google has their own LLM and like GPT, and like companies are personalizing their own. Like once something's been made, it's pretty easy for like other companies to like make a very similar product, and it's going to come down to like who has like the best training, which like leads to the best answers basically.
The controversy is that you have like Amazon backing which Claude.ai? No.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that one.
It's a big LLM. I think it's apparently one of the best on the market right now. It's like better than GPT, but
Really?
so Amazon is backing that. Microsoft is backing OpenAI. You got Google with Bard, and it's basically all these mega corporations competing. And it's like very hard for like smaller businesses to like create like their own LLM, because like we said, you need all these resources, these engineers, and then you need to like have these like massive amounts of data to train the LLM. And it's like people are kind of like concerned, because it's like all these companies have such a head start over like smaller companies that it's like there's concerns about like monopolies or like big companies like monopolizing the market. And it's like, I don't know, what do you do? Like, is there going to be like regulation over, I don't know, because it's like, what if like you don't want like mega companies like having that much power over the AI scene. Like the whole part of capitalism is that you have a bunch of different companies competing.
Yeah.
And it's even harder for people to compete because it's not only the data that people can't get, but also the compute. Like it costs billions of dollars to have computers capable of something like ChatGPT. And not only is it so expensive, but you can't even buy it. Like NVIDIA just released pretty recently a new GPU that's like 10 times better than the last one or whatever. And it's already sold out through like 2027. So they just can't make them that fast.
Yeah, well, I think my prediction, if I had to make one, was you're going to see something like pretty similar to what happened when like search engines started becoming popular. So you started out, and what was like the first one? It was like Microsoft Explorer was like big, and then it was like Mozilla Firefox, I remember was big for a bit. And now it's kind of like,
Yahoo.
I feel like it's been pretty, and then it was like Yahoo, Bing, and now I feel like it's been pretty stagnant. Like Google Chrome has been like the biggest for like however many years now. I feel like we could end up seeing a pretty similar thing where it's like GPT kind of came out first, and then maybe we could switch to something else, and then at a certain point it's kind of going to stagnate, and they're just not going to be adding as many new features because it's not like what have they added? What like major features have they added to like Chrome in the last 5 or 10 years? Like I feel like it, like
It's
maybe
redesigned a little bit.
Yeah, maybe it has changed, but I feel like at face value it's still pretty much the same thing.
Or the iPhone.
Yeah, no, I feel like you could see a pretty similar thing like with most products where it's like the first few years like there's big innovations, and then it kind of stagnates, and there's like one kind of product that is set out ahead of most of the competitors.
Yeah, I don't know if it's necessarily like the worst thing in the world. It is very fun to like see the AI arms race though.
Yeah.
Because so OpenAI and Google have like this beef. Every time Google will like plan a release to tell everyone about it, OpenAI will just drop on like the day before, like overshadow anything that Google does.
Because OpenAI is ahead too, so like
no,
whatever
that's-
Google does is behind.
Apparently,
It doesn't matter
they're
anyway.
ahead. And if you watch in like the presentation, they take a couple shots at Google, because like there was controversy over Google did this demonstration on, I think it was like Gemini something like 2.0 or 3.0 or whatever, and they teased features that weren't actually available, and they like sped up the video. So in the presentation, they make like a couple subtle digs over like this is not sped up, or like like where this is actually happening in real time. Because in Gemini, it was like some like video of like this guy doing it, but it wasn't in real time. It wasn't a real demonstration. So I just think it's kind of funny because it's like there's like this beef, and it kind of seems like the Cold War almost, where it's like you have like the Soviets and you have the U.S. and they're both like there's like all this tension, and it's like they're also high stakes because it's like AGI could like potentially like end the world. So it's like there are like high stakes for the AI arms race, just like there was for the Cold War. But
I mean, if you're looking for the best and smartest AI, this is absolutely the best thing that can happen. Is that there are huge companies with billions and like trillions of dollars of resources, so they can just pour into this, and they're all competing with one another, trying to do it fast and fastest. So they're iterating just so quickly, and like that's why it's going so fast right now.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of what you just said, but like it's really like showing like if you want like some new technology to be created, like it can be innovated on so fast, so long as like there's a financial incentive for companies to actually pour resources into it. Like that's the whole deal with like computer processing, like actual hardware. Like that's been like, I don't know, some statistic, like the number of transistors in like processors doubles like every 2 years or something.
is it Murphy's Law?
Yeah, it's something like that. And it's like because there's just such a financial incentive behind it, like the progress is just like insane. And like you look at other products where there's just not that financial incentive, like even though it's something that could be really cool, like if there's no reason for companies to pour the resources into it, like the innovations are just not going to be there.
Yeah,
Like VR.
Yeah, no,
Do you remember the hype around VR? And then AR. It's like, it's not VR, it's AR. Apple Vision Pro like dropped and everyone's like, oh, nothing happened. Like I haven't heard anything about
I think Apple Vision Pro might still be huge though. Like, I mean, I think it's kind of like AirPods. When AirPods first came out, I was like, ooh, that's kind of weird. It's really expensive.
Really?
I kind of remember it like coming out and me being like, oh, that looks kind of weird.
It looks dumb. It looks like a tooth floss container. You put in those weird things in your ears, and then like a year later,
it's just huge.
It just became huge. And then I finally got a pair. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the best thing ever. Like, how did I ever make fun of
I
this?
do remember that, dude. Everyone's like, why is it so like it's so expensive? And it's
Yeah.
just, like, not even.
But it, like then you look back now and you're like, yeah, I'd pay $150 for those in an instant.
That
Yeah.
is very true.
So right now, Apple Vision Pro is, I mean, it's pretty ridiculously expensive. It's like $3,500.
Is it? It's out though, right?
Yeah, it's out. You can buy it.
Like,
But I mean, have you seen the videos? It's incredible what that thing can do.
dude, I think it's cool, but I just don't see myself using that. But also, I mean, maybe that's the same thing. Where like, oh, it's not worth the money. But like, once I tried it, maybe I would actually like it.
Imagine, well, I think the goal is that can be your entire computer setup. You don't need any sort of other computer. So if you're spending $3,500 for your work computer setup, I mean, it's
That's
somewhat
not that
reasonable.
absurd.
And like, you can just have it anywhere. I could be sitting here with a screen that big and a few other screens to the left and right of it, and just be working on it while I have my music tab like over there, and then I'm still talking to you because I can see you through it all. It's pretty incredible.
I mean, it's cool, but like,
So,
I feel like it's just not that different from like what you could have like with your own computer setup. And like, yeah, you can use it wherever, but like, I just feel like that's not as incentivized. Like,
So here's the thing: is like, big products are like answer a need, and it's like, for like VR right now, it's like, okay, it's cool, but is it worth the price tag? And it's not really answering a huge need. Like people like, it's kind of like glamorous, but it's not like actually like I need this. You know?
Well, that's the same thing with the AirPods. Who needed AirPods? Nobody.
yeah, but I feel like,
I don't know. It could flop.
That's a fair point. Actually.
yeah,
That's a fair
I'm trying to justify like why AirPods are like a genuine like need, like, because wireless headphones existed, earbuds existed. Like, why did people want?
Yeah. There were, I think, other wireless earbuds too. Well, at least the kind of like wired ones that like came around your neck.
Those ones are,
Those are so
look.
bad.
I mean, I think a big actually part of the Apple, like, why previous maybe wireless earbuds hadn't been as successful is just like they looked weird, or like if you're wearing those out in public, like that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
But I feel like when it's like a brand name like Apple, it's like way more socially
Dude,
acceptable.
It was like a status symbol.
No, yeah, it was.
Every kid got it for Christmas because it's like all my friends have this. Like I feel weird if I don't have AirPods.
Yeah.
It's like, how do you create that as a company? That's absurd. That your product becomes like a status symbol where kids feel bad if they don't have it.
Well, that's all. That's literally like big amount of the Apple brand is just like everyone has it, so you kind of feel forced into using it.
Isn't that crazy that like Steve Jobs like was able to just create a brand that like people would rather like cut off their pinky toe than like switch to a different product. Like, you Android, like it's literally over like I don't know, like it's not even like the company, it's like the image that you have of the company. Like he was able to create something that just like I just think it's crazy.
Well, yeah, it's not like like you could find an Android phone that could probably do like pretty much all the same stuff, but it's just like the fact that everyone has it, like you're just so heavily incentivized. And it's also
Do
like,
you think it's that though? Because I don't think it's that anyway. Like I think that's part of it.
so what would you say the other part is?
I think it's the Mac brand. It's like when you think of Mac, you think of like something. Like there's a certain feeling that you get from thinking of Apple and using Apple products that was cultivated intentionally through like the Think Different campaign. Like have you ever seen those commercials or like
Maybe.
it's like I don't necessarily think it's just because everyone else is using it. I think it's because Apple has done such a good job. It's like Disney. Like when people think of Disney, there's something that comes in your mind and you have like certain feelings associated with that company because they've done such a good job branding.
Okay, I agree with that, but I also feel like both those like things kind of build on each other. Like, because they've done a good job branding it, more people are using it. And then since more people are using it, you believe that branding is like accurate.
It's two facets.
And they just are kind of compounding.
I think a big genius of Apple branding is they keep everything so sleek, so white. Like, you open the box of an iPhone and it just feels like the most amazing thing you've ever done. And you set it down and sitting there is just the black slab of metal, and you're like, yes, metal and glass. That is so cool. And then like, all of their branding is just, the commercials are a white screen with just the product there, and it just looks sleek and elegant.
It's branding,
Yeah.
It just goes to show how important user experience is.
No, I agree with that.
And it's like, as a company, I don't know, you can have a great product, but if you don't have a good user experience, then like that's literally the interface between like the consumer and your product. It's like so important.
Yeah, that's a very good point. Like, you could literally have the next like AirPods or
But if
like
you don't
GPT.
market it and
If you don't like,
why.
I think it just goes to show like how much more like there is to the business besides just like what you make, like the brand behind it, like how you're marketing it, and like how you're interacting with users is like so essential to like actually launching a successful product.
And dude, Steve Jobs was actually like, he literally said that he was like, he wanted Apple to be like an intersection between liberal arts and technology. So if you look at a lot of his products, like there's a lot of like art in it, like in like the design of like the edges. Like, dude, I got a Mac this winter, and it's like just like feeling like it sounds so corny.
No.
But if you actually like it feels so much better. I had like an Asus, or whatever. The difference is like paramount. He understood that. He also understood like presentation. Like, have you guys seen like the demonstrations that he would do for like releasing
the first iPhone? Every time I watch that, it just gives me chills, bro.
Like, dude, have you seen the presentation where he goes when he first drops the iPhone? It gives me goosebumps to see it because it's such a cool moment.
Yeah.
He goes, he's like, I wanted to make a product that had like, that would synthesize an iPod, a navigator, a phone, an iPod, a navigator, a phone, an iPod, and he keeps repeating it, and people start to understand that all these things are coming together in one product that's about to drop. And I was like, like 50-year-old dudes are like.
My favorite part of that presentation is he holds up the phone and he goes, to turn it on, I just press the power button on the side, and then all I have to do to unlock it, I wanted something you couldn't do just in your phone. I just swipe across the screen. Because remember, that's how iPhones used to unlock. You just and everybody just went nuts.
Wait,
before that, because swipe technology, like you couldn't, the idea of swiping on a screen just didn't exist.
Oh, it's only it was only like tapping?
You could click things, or like most other things were physical buttons.
Well, yeah, that's when
like
everyone had
phones before that.
That's when everyone had a BlackBerry.
You had you had a keyboard that slid out. Like, that just was not a thing before.
You don't understand how revolutionary it was.
Yeah. And then he goes and he's like, okay, how do I navigate my iPod? I go to the iPod app, whatever. And then to go through my songs, I just scroll. And it was like, what? You can just scroll?
Wait, that's so weird to think about now. That was like a crazy thing because we're just so used to it.
Even at the beginning, it was so like perfect how they did. Like, Apple has always had this thing where like you get to the top of the screen and it rubber bands up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it just feels so right. And
that's a good point. It like even down to that small detail it's all about cultivating this like experience. Like the rubber banding, it's like objectively, it's like, all right, why are we? Because they definitely spent a lot of resources like getting.
Yeah, like it could just stop. It doesn't have to.
Like, imagine being like leading a team of like 100 engineers just on that function. You're like, all right. Like,
well, it gives you that like user feedback that it's like getting your signal, but it's like. Because if it
feels more like a physical thing.
Wait, well, because imagine like you did that and like it just stopped. It would feel like it's just not like receptive to you touch. Like, dude, that's actually kind of crazy.
They've got everything down, dude.
Yeah.
And he goes,
wild.
how do I get back to the main screen? I just pressed the home button, and it was like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
Dude, back when iPhones
I
had home,
loved that.
back when iPhones had home buttons and
Yeah.
all that stuff.
It's crazy.
It's crazy how far you'd come in like when did the first iPhone come out?
And that was like not even that long ago.
Yeah, that was like 15 years ago.
Oh my god, that's so weird.
Crazy, dude.
No, it's probably more than that,
It
right?
was 2007, so I guess 17 years now.
17 years, but like still.
like that, we were like born before that. Like, that was,
Yeah.
that's in our life.
Well, no, I literally remember like I'd play like Brick Breaker on my dad's on my dad's BlackBerry, and you'd be like moving the thing around, and like you're like, oh, this is pretty cool, and then you're like, I remember like maybe like a few years later, my mom got an iPhone. I was like, holy crap, and like you're so young that you just like, I mean, like I said, like we grew up with it, so you just like don't really understand what life was like without it.
Yeah.
When my dad upgraded from a flip phone to an iPhone, I was like, sheesh, what is that?
Yeah, I know. Well, because I remember like everyone in my family had it. Besides, like my extended family, so we'd go to like Christmas or whatever, and people had it, and I was like right around the time like my mom was the first one to get it. And I was like, you have to get that. Like that's so cool.
Well, so they say that like in Steve Jobs creating the iPhone, he did something that like great business leaders do, is that they don't service a need, they like create a need. Like if you would have said to like people like, do you need an iPhone, right? Like because people had phones.
Yeah.
But he literally like created this whole like mobile industry.
Yeah.
Like
That's
dude, they
crazy.
created like the App Store too, just from that one product.
Yeah, and you have to think like that. They make so much money just off the App Store too, and like what do they take like 20% from every?
I don't know what it
They
is,
take
but yeah, they make a
they
lot.
take like a stupid amount from like any like App Store purchase or like in-app purchase. Like they created like basically like products within a like. It's like a very good business model because they're like making money from the sale of the phone, and then on top of that, like people are gonna keep spending money on it. Like
I would almost argue that AI is kind of similar, where it creates like an ecosystem of applications that you could create from, like when they lease out like their API that you can just freely use for any application that you create on it. I would say that's comparable.
How do they make
But
money?
yeah, they don't have a
how
financial-
How does OpenAI make money when you use their API? Do you have to pay for the back end?
No, yeah, you pay for the API.
Okay.
well, wait, but they definitely are like open sourcing. Like, could you elaborate on that a little more? How that actually works? Because I don't really like.
I don't know like the nitty gritty about it, but I do know that like I think you pay like a monthly fee.
Okay, to use it.
Yeah.
Because I know one of their big things was like they wanted like at least like GPT to be like open source, like anyone can access it.
And now I don't think it is.
Yeah, well, I think they realized they've got something like worth like literally billions of dollars, and they like, especially like if you have like investors and stuff, like they're like, you need to make money off this somehow.
Well, they were a non-profit company initially, and then they turned to for-profit.
Yeah.
So I don't know why that decision was.
Wait, were they non-profit? Because didn't they have to raise money for like I wonder how that worked with their investors and stuff because.
No, yeah, you can't like offer equity.
Yeah, you're not going to be. Yeah, exactly. So I wonder. I'd have to look into how that works actually.
But they were. That's a lot of people's big problem with OpenAI is they were originally open source and nonprofit, and
now
then they
Yeah.
closed to closed source
closed
and
AI,
for profit. It's like, okay, well, where'd the mission go? You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it is a little worrisome. Like a business starts and it's like this awesome thing they create, and then they just completely abandon their mission. It's like, okay, what else are they willing to just throw down the gutter for?
Crazy.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I also do think though, like, for profit isn't necessary. Like, yeah, it's bad that they're abandoning the mission, but it's also not like there's definitely gonna be faster innovation when there's like a larger financial incentive. Like, it's gonna be easier for them to raise money and like pay
Right.
competitively.
Yeah, and the fact that they have competitors, like for-profit competitors, they just would not have.
Oh, they would get
possibly-
muscled out so
That was
fast.
probably in the decisions. Like they needed finances to like provide resources to like innovate. Like you can't, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah,
You
that's
just could've
weird.
done it.
Dude, the hype. Have you guys heard around the hype around GPT-5?
No,
It's supposed to come like in the fall.
really.
Wait,
What's big
I don't
about
really
it?
know.
Do you
I
know
was
what's coming?
hoping that you guys would know, but apparently it's gonna be like they've like Sam Altman like teased it a bunch, and I was like, I don't know. I think it's like a Steve Jobs situation where he's like, I don't know, kind of gassing it up.
Wait, hold up. I want to look into when GPT-4o comes out. Because this says it's now rolling out. But what does that actually mean? Here's how to get access. So, like, realistically, that's something that's going to be out within the summer, right?
I think so.
Like, next couple months, because it's May right now. So, GPT-5 in the fall, like, do you actually buy that, though?
No, how it's probably gonna work out is that Google's gonna release something, and
They're going to have it ready, and they're going to wait right until Google's about to release it.
I think it's already ready. Like they, I listened to a podcast with Sam Altman a while ago, and he was talking about they had ChatGPT complete like a year before it came out. Mm-hmm. So at that point, he kind of had lost the charm of it, and he didn't realize, like, he'd kind of forgotten how great it was.
Yeah.
And then it released to the public, and it was like, oh.
Yeah.
Because it was so revolutionary.
Well, I mean,
we'd never seen anything.
We were on that day one. That's how I remember.
I was on it, dude.
You were.
Yeah,
you put us on.
You put us on.
I rewatched the podcast again. I was like,
Really?
this is crazy.
Wait, what were we like saying about it?
We were just like, this is crazy. Like, what are the applications gonna be? And, like,
College essays out the window.
yeah, college essays.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that was on our mind.
Yeah,
It
that
like-
was.
Yeah.
I just remember playing around with it
And
the first
playground.
couple times,
Yeah.
and like, cause you remember how you used to be able to like manipulate like temperature and like how long of a response you want.
Oh,
Do you
yeah,
remember?
yeah.
That was-
in the
that was-
playground beta thing. Yeah.
Yeah, because I was thinking about like I was playing with GPT the other day, and I was like, wait, why can't you do that anymore?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Because I thought I think the temperature thing especially was like a cool feature, but now it's kind of like locked in. But do you know like if you like, can you like manipulate that? Like, is there ways to like get a version where you
I
can?
don't think you can anymore.
Maybe in the API, like if you. Yeah, I don't really know. It's not available just in the regular ChatGPT.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
So the rumors of GPT-5 are basically like that they're sitting on like AGI right now, artificial general intelligence.
What do you think that means? Like, what's
Yeah.
the step from ChatGPT-4 right now to AGI?
Like, how do you even define that?
I don't know. That's the question, but it's like it just comes back to like capabilities, like how.
I kind of want a definition for.
Do you think you can brute force AGI, or does it have to be something different?
Yeah, I think. Well, if they do have it, they brute forced it. I don't think they came up with some revolutionary way.
Yeah.
Because that's how all AI has worked so far, is literally just like brute force information.
It's just so murky with like regulation and stuff too. Like, you guys remember when like all the AI innovators like signed the letter that Elon Musk was on too?
Yeah.
Like halting AI for a little bit.
And that did not happen at all, did it?
happened.
I don't think so.
It's kind of weird that Elon Musk has this stance when he literally like helped found OpenAI.
Yeah, he did. And he also has his own AI company now called
Oh,
XAI.
that's right,
and
yeah.
Grok. Yeah, I wonder how that's going.
What are they doing? Like just the same stuff, or?
It kind of seems like it. I haven't heard too much coming out of XAI, but
I think it's interesting that like, cause you guys have seen like the clips where he's like talking with Sam Altman, right? The OpenAI guy.
yeah.
He's talking about like how like when they first started OpenAI, like they were this tiny company and they were doing it like they were doing AI differently than every other company, and they were like almost getting mocked for it. Like no one was taking them seriously. And then like they come out with GPT, and now that's what everyone's
Yeah,
everyone's doing it
to
the
large
exact
language
same way as them. And I'm just like, maybe the same thing could happen for like if a new competitor like comes out doing something different.
Yeah, that's the only way a small company could get into the space.
Well,
is
yeah.
by inventing a new way to do it. That's
Well,
better.
because
I mean, literally, that's almost every product though. Like you have to come out like you're not gonna outcompete with like production. You have to like come up with something new, right?
Because OpenAI has already gotten started on this, like, they're already outpacing everyone, and it's like, then it's like, it almost gets exponential if, like, the AI can train itself.
Mm-hmm.
Then you get to this, like, exponential outpacing of competitors.
Yeah, you do have. I wonder how that works though, because with AI training itself, like it seems like it could be exponential growth, but it could also just completely ruin it. In
Wait,
some
what do you
ways.
mean?
Because have you ever seen like there are all these accounts on Facebook that have like that they kind of claim to be posting real images, but they're just fake.
Yeah.
And like some of the images look really real that AI generates, and some of them just look completely strange. Like if the AI database that it's training itself on has, like, just for example for images, like if it's people with 6 fingers and arms twice as long as they should be, which is pretty commonplace in current like AI generated images, and if it's training itself on that, then it's just gonna get worse and worse and worse.
Yeah, but I feel like if that actually gets to a point where like AI is training itself, like that's gonna be far enough down the line where I feel like they're gonna have that sort of stuff like perfected already.
Yeah, you'd hope so.
Because like you'd think even just like how much better it's gotten in just like 2 years, like I feel like that's not even something you would see for like, I mean maybe I'm just saying that, but like because it is progressing fast, but you don't know where it's gonna be in like however many years.
It's really interesting to think about like how this is gonna impact like society, because it's like I've already kind of noticed in myself that like if you use AI a lot for like any writing thing that you have to do, then it's like you almost feel like your writing skills and maybe your critical thinking skills atrophy. And it's like you don't want it to turn into like a Wall-E situation where we're all floating around, floating pods, drinking soda, watching our screens like fat.
Education is going to be a really interesting application of AI.
I think my prediction is that the majority of people are going to over-rely on AI, and it's only going to make like critical thinking and writing skills more important. I like to be the ability to like think for yourself and not just immediately like go to Perplexity to like look something up.
So would you say if that is what happens, would you say that makes it easier to differentiate yourself like as like an employee, or like harder to differentiate yourself
As an employee?
or like somebody, I guess somebody job seeking, right? Because if there's less people or if there's too many people that have over relied on AI and say you haven't, like that's an advantage for you, right?
I would say it's an advantage. I also don't think that now like it's like having an iPhone where you're going to need to use AI in order to like be competitive, but you're gonna have to be able to like synthesize like your critical thinking skills with AI in order to succeed.
Well, dude, I think it's even gotten to a point where like using AI is a skill. Like there's these people that are like known to be super good at like prompting.
Dude,
prompt engineering.
People are making over $300K being prompt engineers.
That's ridiculous.
Like
Just knowing how to prompt LLMs effectively.
That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, it is really interesting how it's going to change the landscape of education because, I mean, like you're saying, your skills absolutely can atrophy. And so, like, I don't know what you guys' policies are at your universities, but, like, I took a class in the classics department this semester, and their policies, you cannot use generative AI for any part of the process of writing.
So that's really interesting because, do you want to finish that point?
Yeah, because, and I actually, like, there were a lot of times where I just wanted to be like, I wanted to just go on ChatGPT, like, where does the shield of Achilles pop up throughout the book or throughout the poem? But then I was like, no, I can't do that. So then it prompted me, or like even generating ideas, like how could I relate these two things? But it did prompt me more to like really think about it and have to use my own synthesizing powers, which is, I think, a really good thing. I'm glad that they did that. But also, I mean, there are a lot of applications of AI in education where I think it can be really, really helpful.
Wait, so was that for the Iliad?
Yeah, the Iliad and the Aeneid.
Yeah, so I took a classics class, like I guess 2 semesters ago now in the fall, and we read the Iliad, and we had like a normal paper for that, and then so the class had 3 papers, and the third paper he just changed that semester to literally, it was for Plato's Republic, and the whole idea behind the prompt was literally using ChatGPT. So it said like, ask ChatGPT this question, read what it says, and then compare it to like what you see in the book, basically. And so there was like a few different questions, and basically the whole paper was literally designed around using ChatGPT, and then kind of at the end it was like synthesizing like, what is GPT useful for? Like, what is it good at? What is it not good at? And that was literally integrated into the class now. So
Sorry,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, was that the first essay?
No, that was the last one of the class.
What did you find? What was your conclusion from the essay?
Dude, it was good for like general ideas, but it wasn't in like, and you could ask it about like symbolism, like the allegory of the cave, and like what does this mean?
Yeah.
And it can give you a base like idea of what it's trying to symbolize, but it can't really come up with its own like it's just not good at drawing deeper meaning up to like how does this like apply to like my life, for example, and that sort of thing. Like it just has trouble with those more like nuanced, like emotion-based ideas, I would say. And I feel like that's what you would probably say you guys have experience with using GPT. Like,
I will say there's like an emptiness when you use GPT. That's like, you almost feel like you kind of shortcutted.
yeah,
Where it's like like you kind of cheated the system where you're like, you could have had like this like cognitive growth, but instead you chose to do it this way.
I mean, do you think though that's any different than like, say when like Google came out and you used to have to look something up in an encyclopedia versus like now you can just Google it, right? Like, is that any different though?
Yeah, I don't know. And then like Steve Jobs like said that like computers are like the bicycle of the mind, meaning like if you use computers right, like they can actually accelerate like the capability that you have.
I think that's true in some respects. Even with AI, like you saw, well, if you watched the demo, you saw using ChatGPT to learn things. Like you can point your phone at a math problem and say, please, like I'm really stuck. How do you do this integral? Please help me out. And it'll say, okay, well, what bounds are we integrating over? And then, well, do we know the integration rule for 1 over 1 plus x squared? And then like it'll just help you solve the problem. And if you didn't have that, you would need to find somebody who understood that. Like if you were really stuck on a problem and you just couldn't figure it out, you'd need to find somebody else who could do that. But then it's your personal tutor. Yeah. And that like it could be a really, really powerful tool. I've definitely used it for things like that.
My math professor was so bad. I literally taught myself all of linear algebra on GPT. I swear to God. And I would, dude, I think that's the future. That's one of my ideas is like using, this might exist already, but having an AI like tutor that you can feed in like your lectures or your notes and stuff.
Oh, yeah.
But I will say that was a big struggle for me freshman year, is that basically every single thing that I did in college, I could have cheated on, like very easily.
Yeah, I think that's true.
And even down to programming, like literally everything I could do. And then, but then it's like, I'm here. I want to learn computer science. I want to develop as a thinker. I want to work hard on something and reap the benefits. So it's like this fine line of like, okay, it's Saturday night and it's due at midnight and I want to go out with my friends because I'm in college and I want to enjoy my life and make memories. But also I want to persevere with the uncomfortableness of like not knowing how to do this because that's where all the benefits are. And it's like your situation is respectable because it requires so much like discipline. And I think most people are not going to have that discipline. Mm-hmm. And so I think that the value of discipline today in modern men is like so important. And I think the people that have discipline are going to have such an advantage.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, pretty much the same thing you said, but it is just like so easy nowadays to like, not even necessarily like cheat, but just like, there's so many resources to like make stuff easier and like, just like remove all the struggle from like learning something new that like, it's just hard to argue of like whether or not like using those resources to learn something is like actually like learning it in the same way. Like, is it actually...
If you don't struggle, you're not going to learn something.
Well, and even like, say you like struggle through to learn something, like say you could have got the same information by like using whatever, let's just say GPT, because that's what we've been talking about. Like, do you not learn like other problem skills, like aside from just like the actual information you learn, like strategies for tackling something you don't know how to do?
Yeah.
And that's the stuff that's like you can't really quantify.
Yeah, because on a test, you might see something you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And you're going to have to go through the process of figuring something out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's all about like the hidden things that are kind of you're almost indirectly harming yourself from taking the comfortable way of using AI.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's all about balancing that somehow.
It's a really good point.
Which no one's talking about, dude. No one is talking about, hey, I want to do this the harder way just because I want to build skills.
Yeah. Build that resilience.
But it comes back to what you were saying earlier with like learning a language. Like, what's even the point of building these skills if a computer can do it for me? Like, there has to be something inside of you that just needs to learn.
Dude, but I feel like that just like general like problem solving, like doing something you've never done before, like that's a skill in itself, is like just be like naturally being able to pick something up without any formal training on it. And I feel like that's something you kind of get when you're just like struggling through those things.